On this episode, we chat with Max and Joe from Root the Future about sustainable lifestyles in Thailand.
So if you're curious about plant-based diets and how easily they can work with existing Thai food culture, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 and who used to dream of white sand and palm trees while hiking through white snow and pine trees. Nothing deep there. I just like the way it sounds.
Yeah, so do I. I like that.
Yeah.
And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 22 years ago, fell in love with having an extra day to remember my family and friends' birthdays, so I never left.
It's always nice when you can get it under the gun, hey? Like, oh shit, I forgot. Oh wait, I've still got 12 hours.
Dude, you don't know how many times that's happened to me where, you know, I basically have forgotten someone's birthday and then I check and it's like 11 p.m. back home and I can like squeeze it in.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's great.
All right, we want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get our ad-free regular show a day early, behind the scenes photos of our interviews, a heads up to send questions to upcoming guests, and access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. On this week's bonus show, we chatted about Greg's weird fascination with die-hard memorabilia. As we get closer to Christmas, my frustrating experience trying to book a Thanksgiving dinner, which was eventually abandoned despite more restaurants than ever hosting buffets for this non-Thai holiday, and Greg's excitement over the new Ministry of Interior building being constructed near him and what that will mean for his local food scene. Plus, we are finally experimenting with offering video podcasts, patrons only for now while we work the kinks out. So head to patreon.com if our smooth and silky voices simply are not enough.
Yeah, baby.
To learn how to become a patron, click the support button at the top of our website.
Right. And as always, if you have a comment, show idea, or just want to say hi, head to bangkokpodcast.com and click the little microphone button on the bottom right to leave us a voicemail that we will play on the show. Also, quick shout out to original founder and co-host of season 1, Tony Joe. The site was offline today for probably 5 or 6 hours, but I chatted him up real quick, and he did some Google foo in the background, some DNS foo, and helped us out. So
nice.
Quick shout out to our original buddy Tony. So hey Tony. All right, and also don't forget about our year-end meetup at Panrim Nam on December 10th. More details on facebook.com/Bangkok Podcast, and we hope to see you there. All right, well, on this episode, Ed interviews Max and Joanna Heiler of Root the Future, a small organization based in Bangkok that promotes vegan, plant-based, and environmentally sustainable lifestyles. They exploded onto Thai social media in 2019 with their colorful, fun videos on vegan products and restaurants in Thailand and promote plant-based eating. Now, Ed and they discuss how this effort is going in Thailand and chat about how easily Thai food culture can adapt to vegan dishes, tastes, and lifestyle. So here is Ed's interview with Max and Joe, 2 expats in Thailand doing their best to save the planet one dish at a time.
All right, Max and Joe, welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. I'm sitting here on lovely Sukhumvit 39 with Max and Joe of Root the Future. In short, it's a vegan / plant-based NGO. So I want to start out and just say thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Thanks for having us. We're very excited to chat with you.
Yeah, now I am already familiar with what you guys do to some extent because I found you guys, I think on Facebook or wherever, a couple of years ago. How long has it been now?
Oh, almost 3 years, May 2020.
May the 1st, 2020.
Right in the middle of COVID, that's when we started.
Yeah, the perfect time.
Excellent timing. Right?
Yeah.
No, we were just talking before we started. When you popped onto the scene, I really felt you guys were doing something different. I was already familiar with the plant-based world of Thailand. And your whole vibe, the way you present yourselves, the fact that you're expats, make you guys totally different. And I've been wanting to get you guys on the show forever, so I'm finally glad it's working out. So maybe we should just do some origin stories, kind of like superhero origin stories.
Cool. All right.
So what's either one or both of you guys? What is the story of Root the Future? Like, where did it come from, or how did it start?
So I mean, I guess Root the Future is essentially like all of our kind of passions and kind of skills put together. For me, like I started, I actually went vegan almost 12 years ago now. And was in London and met Max, and then after that we just kind of like
I wasn't vegan.
Yeah, he wasn't vegan then, but we kind of met and then moved to Dubai very quickly, and like within a few months, after cooking a lot of food and talking some sense into Max's ear.
It wasn't so much sense. It was like, hi, I'm Max. I'm an animal lover. And Joe was just very, logical, very precise questions. Like, why do you love animals, but you still eat them? What's the difference there?
Oh, right.
And that kind of thing. But nothing too poking.
But mostly it was just like cooking a lot of food.
Yeah, she won me over through my stomach.
Yeah,
Sure,
and then like I feel like after you switch to eating plants, whether that's for animal rights reasons, whether that's for environmental reasons or your health, I feel like you just kind of learn about all the other reasons as you go.
Sure.
So I think the longer I was vegan, longer we were vegan. We lived in Dubai as well, and Max is a professional kind of video dude.
I like that.
Is there a more proper word for
It's a good title.
Video dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Video dude, yeah. So Max is a video producer. I was a fashion model and musician. And we just started working together, shooting kind of sustainable fashion when we were in Dubai, doing some videos, did a little bit of kind of health food video stuff because there wasn't really much out there, especially in Dubai then. Sorry, where was I?
Well, I think what it is, we're living Ikigai, right? So it's our passion, it's our work. Mm-hmm. We love it. We enjoy it. We are our target market as well.
Right, right.
But when we moved to Thailand, we actually were living in Dubai, like I said, and we came here on our honeymoon. And we were like, oh my God, there's so much fresh fruits and vegetables and like color and trees and stuff. So we actually picked up our cat. We went back to Dubai, picked up our cat, and then moved here like 2 months later. And to start with, we were kind of just shooting stuff together, like I said, vegan and sustainable fashion. And then we actually were developing a business plan for a vegan luxury kind of sustainable hotel. And that was right up until 2020.
Right.
And then 2020 happened and we were like, right, how can we put all of our kind of everything we know about plant-based food, everything that we want to share with the world, our skills that we have, like presenting and doing video, how can we put that all together and actually make some change? Because with the hotel, when we launched it, we saw how powerful social media was. I think our followers went up to like 13,000 in like 2 weeks or something, wow. Which for us at the time, Instagram was kind of mad. And we were like, wow, everyone's kind of interested. Like more people than we thought have passion that we have. That
wasn't just international. Also, that was local.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that was Thailand, that Thailand-based audience.
So hold on, let me, I just want to clarify something because for me, there's a line, I mean, maybe not for you guys, but for me, there's a big line between being kind of personally plant-based, eating vegetarian or eating vegan, but then getting into the advocacy step. Or, for example, in my case, I eat plant-based, but I've really never done any advocacy. I mean, I've attended events and things like that, or, liked stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, well, you know what? Even liking stuff on Facebook is advocacy. Yeah. It's activism. Right. It's passive activism, but it's not like you're out there. Like there's a range of different types of advocacy and activism. You could go to a parliament building with a placard with something written on there. That might turn some heads. It might make some change. But you could also eat plants. Your advocacy is through what you eat and through what you pay for. So
I think that the interesting part about like the word advocacy is like, in my mind, I'm not sure I would really class us as advocacy, even though I guess it kind of is, but more so we just kind of like want to be an information source and like support for those guys who are thinking about eating plants or interested in being more environmentally friendly, or even if they have health concerns. More want to be kind of like an information source and a source of like fun and inspiration.
Sure.
To get maybe more people interested.
Climate.
But mostly for you guys, it sounds like you were just so naturally enthusiastic about it that it just kind of bubbled over. So it wasn't, there wasn't no clear decision point where you're like, because for me, I think about in the future, maybe I'll get into it. Maybe I'll join an organization so for me,
I feel like there's this line I would need to cross to become an advocate. But for you, it sounds like it was just your personality and it was just your enthusiasm. You were just into it and you were just kind of sharing your enthusiasm.
I think the key thing was like, we were already kind of doing videos, like, and like Max obviously is a professional video dude, as I said before. And it was easy for us to do like videos together. So that made it easier to.
So these were going out just on like a personal Instagram.
I can't even think of
I would say that we started sharing content when we first started about, what we personally do to mitigate our footprint in terms of climate change. And then we realized that more people actually wanted to see it and more people liked seeing it. So we created more. And then as our sort of followship grew, they asked us questions about, where do I get this? Or what do I get this? And that that grows more content.
But there was obviously a decision in, I think it was in April, in 2020 that we were like, right, let's just do this full time. This is what we want to do. We found someone who's willing to kind of help us with keeping us going. So we basically run on sponsorship. Everything we do is like not for profit. We just aim to cover our costs and our time. So we were like, we've got someone who's willing to support us. Let's just do this full time. Let's just really give this our all, because we know that there's kind of a gap in the market for, I guess, I don't know, information, inspiration.
It's accessibility.
Kind of
like you were saying, that it's difficult. You don't know how to get into being an advocate or to try that. How do I cross that boundary between my normal everyday life and actually advocating for something? And I think what we provide is that accessibility to join a sort of a collective group of like-minded, passionate people.
So the idea of something that's kind of NGO-like, that came in after you came to Thailand, because you had a hotel idea.
Yeah.
And then it switched to a little bit more of kind of, I mean, I don't know if you guys are formally an NGO or...
We're actually, right now, we're a limited company in the process of applying to be a social enterprise.
It takes 2 years.
But I'm not really sure, like we've got somebody working on that for us because it's really complicated. I don't know how to do it myself. But yeah, the idea is to be a social enterprise. So any sponsorship we get is just to cover the events that we want to do or help with our next projects. That's pretty much how we run. Like we don't aim to make profits or anything like that. We just want to be able to like maintain and also do big projects that have big impact. So sometimes that requires a lot of sponsorship, but like I said, that just goes back into those projects.
I think there's a big sort of CSR culture here as well. Like these big brands want to actually give something that they can offer to NGOs or companies or brands that want to make an impact, and they have the ability to do that. So like when we worked with, say, VGI, for example, that's quite a good example because they have for their CSR aspect, they can provide a space to advertise solutions to climate change. And then we can come along and say, well, we can create content for that without cost. So
it's a win-win for us because VGI are getting, the kind of meaningful content CSR that they want for their platform. And for us, it's an amazing platform to be able to spread the word to like millions of people because they have so many people on the BTS.
93 trains showing 93 BTS trains with our content showing easy, simple ways that you can mitigate your impact.
Okay. So let's get back to Root the Future itself. So where did the name come from?
We actually spent a really long time trying to come up with the name. I can't remember what the name was before. I must have been like 3 weeks trying to come up with a name.
It's the hardest thing. Sorry, can I just let this go?
Come on then. So for us, we wanted to have, I think that the thing that we wanted to be different. We don't want to be an influencer. We didn't want to be, like a net idol that just talks about like food. What we really wanted to do is be a source of kind of like a media source and an information source that has a face as well. So it's easy for people to kind of relate to, but we didn't want it to just be like Joanna and Max at Joanna and Max. So we were like, it has to have an organization name.
Sure.
And we obviously wanted something to do with kind of empowerment and, sustainability. So, roots as in like trees and the future. It just kind of, I think we actually decided on a name first, which was something like
This Planet B.
We bought the domain for it and everything. And then a week later, we were like, oh, this is not right.
Root the Future does have different connotations if you're in Australia.
It does.
Yeah.
I was wondering there. Root. Yeah.
And Joe is Australia. Yeah. So you would have thought, maybe that probably wouldn't have been a good idea, but virgin.
Yeah, it's true.
There you go.
Yeah. I remember we asked my family for like their kind of input when we were looking for names, and that one they were like, it's really cool, but if you ever want to do this in Australia, you could probably gonna have to change.
Are you sure they continued the sentence after but?
So what was do you guys remember your first thing you did as Root the Future? How did you? There is a lot of plant-based stuff on the internet. I mean, most of it's meant to be global, obviously not for Thailand, but there's so many resources, whether it's medical or environmental. So how did you decide to have a niche?
So I mean, our main kind of goal was obviously sustainability, because in 2020 we felt like it was obviously COVID was happening and everyone was very glued to their phones and their computers because everyone was at home, and we were thinking this is a great way. Everyone's thinking about what went wrong with COVID, like what's happened to the earth. The earth is really fragile, and I also think it was a time where everyone was really thinking about climate change and the way that we're doing things isn't necessarily like good for the planet and also good for human health. So we started with the goal to be environmentally focused, and we also we don't just focus on plant-based food. We wanted to focus on we focus predominantly on plant-based food just because it's the biggest thing that we can do to reduce our impact. But we also, focus on zero waste. So we kind of wanted to be a full-rounded environmental kind of advice platform. And when we started, it was just content. So it was just videos. Like the first video we did was on May the 1st, and we put it out, so kind of saying who we were. COVID's happened, and there's all these things that we can do. And the main thing that we can do is be more environmentally conscious. So it was kind of just videos and content.
I think it was just showing that there's a need. There's a need for it, because a lot of people see climate activism as extreme because that's how it's perceived all around the world. But here, climate activism is so easy to do. Because
we wanted to show it doesn't have to be extreme.
You can just pick up a piece of fruit and eat that. That's activism. That's honestly, that's the easiest, most accessible thing that you can do. And there was nothing that showed how to do that through entertainment. And that's where we sort of stepped in.
Now, so I want to talk more about this. So your message and how Thais receive it. So obviously, I'm sure a lot of people who follow you are expats like myself. But obviously, so what's it like working with Thais or trying to reach Thais but in English? That's
a big question. I mean, when we first started, our kind of eventual goal was actually to have, a Thai presenter as well, because we really wanted to be able to reach both Thai locals and expats equally. But for us, it was just logistically easier to do, the presenting and the content ourselves. But we do try and have, everything in Thai and English written. But for us, it's definitely, I feel like we've definitely had a lot of Thai locals have been really supportive about what we do and have really voiced their support for us. On the other hand, there's also, we've heard from people who are in some Thai vegan groups that they don't necessarily like us because we're foreigners, which I feel like is a really difficult barrier to cross.
It's sort of modern colonialism, really, because we're coming in kind of as
that's what people kind of perceive it as, people coming in saying they perceive us as we've come into Thailand to do this when actually we were here already.
We're telling you what to do.
This is just where we live, and we wanted to do this community, and because we know Thailand, this was where we were going to do it.
Right, it's kind of it's the preachy foreigner problem.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is really difficult to. I mean, obviously we do know a little bit of Thai, not enough to do content in Thai.
Your Thai's pretty good.
All the food, the important stuff.
Well, how Greg and I get over this problem. We're just complete idiots.
Right.
That's how. So no, because on the podcast, and listeners, everyone knows this, that we're always very honest about every mistake we've ever made in this country, and we've made a lot. So it's I sometimes joke that the podcast is really about just dumb things foreigners do, because it's true. Greg and I have been here so long that we've just made every mistake in the book.
Right.
And so, but your mission is a little bit different. So on the podcast, we're not preaching at all, but if we are, it's definitely to expats where we're trying to tell expats, hey, don't make this mistake.
Right. Yeah.
Our podcast is a conversation about how to be happy in Thailand as a foreigner. So to Thais, it's not like abrasive in any way. But I could see if I was a local Thai vegan advocate and then you guys came in, I could see it. But the bottom line is they're not doing stuff in English anyway.
Yeah.
The community needs like English language speakers, like who are really good, who can promote the message.
Yeah. And when it comes to our audience, I think that we expected to have a lot more Thai viewership than we actually do, I think. Because right now, especially on Facebook, I think, Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
It's a different audience, Instagram, Facebook. Instagram is definitely driven towards expat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, probably 70 towards 80% expat.
Whereas Facebook is more of a Thai audience, and also YouTube is kind of split down the middle. But we don't do much on YouTube. But
so for the content that we create, we are definitely tailoring it to what our audience wants. But then we're sort of pigeonholing ourselves because we want to create impact, like a big impact, and that comes with attracting that sort of 90%, the Thai audience, the ones that don't even know what plant-based means.
One of the hardest things about trying to raise sponsorship, since that's the only way we run, we don't like take money for reviews or anything because we want to make sure we're unbiased. So everything we do is kind of, we have to raise sponsorship, which is really, really difficult.
And that's the Thai way. Yeah. That's the Thai way, having a picture with a product and a thumbs up.
Well, you mean the reviews,
yeah.
Oh, right,
but for the sponsorship, it's really hard because I think that a lot of the Thai companies who maybe would be interested in sponsoring us if everything was in Thai, they still view us as, they're just targeting tourists, or they're just foreigners who have come in to do this.
Yeah, so why would that be good for my brand?
So why would that be good for us? Like we don't, like we even get like, we don't really even want to associate with them because they're foreigners, which is really difficult. And it's also really like, it upsets me a lot because we have, this is like our home and we've been here for 6 years, and still, although there's still a bit of a language barrier, and I'm sure we could make more of an effort to speak Thai. Obviously we don't have much time anymore, but the Thai that we know. But yeah, I mean, it still is upsetting not being accepted, because I'm trying to flip that. If it was in a different country, I feel like it would be, you wouldn't necessarily like.
Well, this topic I'm very ready to talk about, and we talk about it a lot on the podcast. The kind of, there's this dichotomy in Thailand of where they're very super nice in many ways and very welcoming to foreigners, but it doesn't matter how long you've been here. There's still this barrier. And so it's an odd thing, because in some ways I think Thailand is still closed no matter how long you've been here. And I joke with my students sometimes. I ask them if I ever get a Thai passport, if I ever become a Thai citizen, would you consider me really Thai? And they all just shake their head, back and forth. But to be honest, most countries are like that. I grew up in the States, and so I just think of citizenship as a legal thing.
Yeah. Right.
If you guys got American citizenship, you would be American just like me. If any of my students got an American passport, they'd be American just like me. I wanted to ask you, what do you think that might be unique about Thailand or Thai culture that makes them more open to it? So, I mean, do you guys make any effort to appeal to Buddhist ideas at all?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely, like the Jay food, like Ahadje is like obviously like very well known to the older generation. And I think that gives it less of what's the word I'm looking for?
Less of a stigma.
Yeah. So
it's culturally ingrained. J food is culturally ingrained, and it's culturally ingrained because health and doing good. Yeah. And I think that the word vegan is actually more accepted. It doesn't have that.
I remember when we first got to Thailand, actually, we were in a taxi. I can't remember why we were talking to the taxi driver about vegan food.
Just being nice, I guess.
No, about vegan food. He was asking us something about food, and it just got into the conversation that we were going to a vegan restaurant or something like that. And he was like, wow, that's really good. You guys are really good people. And I was like, whoa, what? Like, that's not the normal reaction you get. So I think there's definitely more positive connotations for vegan food in Thailand than maybe necessarily other countries. So I think that kind of makes it a bit more open for like people who aren't vegan or vegetarian to be like, I'm going to be vegan today because I feel like it's the right thing
to
do.
And the flexitarian attitude here in Thailand everyone's flexitarian.
Right. Being open to eating vegetarian now and then or vegan now and then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly
I agree.
That.
Yeah, I found this a problem with Westerners, where when they never think that way. They always think like, oh, I don't want to become vegetarian. They think it's like this binary thing. And I'm like, dude, like you can eat a couple meals a week. Like,
you just had a banana on your oatmeal for breakfast. That was a vegan thing you put on your food.
Just had some water. That's a vegan snack.
I want to stick to this J thing because what I found with my students when I talk about Buddhist stuff, or in one of my classes, there's like a meditation component. And on the one hand, Thais are familiar with it. So they're kind of, accepting. But I don't know, my students are just, I would say they are Buddhist culturally, but they really don't want much to do with like Buddhism formally, and they're not really what I would call like very religious people. So it's like, I think they are Buddhist, like culturally, but they really look at meditation as very square. Right. Like it's not, in the West, like meditation is hip. It's cool, it's trendy, it's like there's yoga, it's cool. But among young Thai people, meditation is super square.
Interesting.
Because I think they're forced to do it like in public school and in really bad ways.
Right.
And they just associate it with like stuffy temples and stuff like that. So do you ever get any pushback like that to like the J thing? Like for one thing, it's like the J festival is really only 1 month a year or a few weeks a year.
Tops 10 days.
Is there any, when I go to the mall and there's a J stall, I go right there, but it's never that busy.
Yeah. No. I do think that like the younger Thai generation, I feel like they definitely like, although, J is like kind of integrated into society, I also think that people tend to avoid those places. Like I know that especially during Vegetarian Festival, actually this is something we did in our first year. We did the Plant-Based Food Awards, and we did it right before Vegetarian Festival because we wanted to promote the fact that although I personally love J food, I love like fried mushrooms and stuff. I know a lot of Thai people dread the J festival because they're like, I don't want to eat fried mushrooms for 10 days. So we wanted to promote the fact that it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. That's what I meant.
It's an evolution.
That's what I'm saying. I think J food has a very mixed reputation. Like a lot of people think it's super bland, but they associate it with a religious thing. Like they associate it with a sacrifice, and that's my point. That's how they think of meditation. It's like, it's just some square. It's like some ascetic practice. And so that can be counterintuitive. Like, and I think you guys do. I mean, I want to get back to how you guys specifically promote yourself, but I think in a way, like if you like J is just not sexy. It's just not.
No.
But the way you guys present stuff, you guys make it look like interesting and colorful, and so let's get back to that. So this was an intentional thing on your choice, the way you present the food and yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I think J food has a bad reputation, and it's interesting because when we talk to people who aren't vegan, they're like, oh, J food. But when we do post J restaurants or pictures of J food or do videos about like Santi Asok, which is like a J community, people like the likes go up. Like people really do like it. So it definitely seems to be like a perception. And then when they see it, they're like, oh, actually, no, that does look good.
Well, that's why we share so much food.
Definitely good. Some of it definitely is good.
We share so much food because we want to show that plant-based food could even be an evolution of J food.
Sure.
You've got that positive aspect of doing good, merit making of J food, and you don't have the negative aspect of it's bland, deep fried mushrooms.
Right.
So we're just showing that it's like really nice, innovative food, but also has the positive aspect.
Right.
Yeah. So like every post, every video, every news article is just to try and myth bust that. Like we want to break that down and be like, it's not this misperception. It doesn't always have to be this way. And I think, that's the way that we kind of push it. We try and make everything exciting.
Another angle I wanted to get into is, what do you think about Thai food in particular and how easy it is to make plant-based?
Yeah.
Because certain cuisines, I think, are hard to do, but others are more open. So what's your take on Thai food?
For me, I think that there's two parts to Thai food, because when you go into, even if it's a local Thai restaurant, that sells Thai food, as long as if they've got like a Thai menu, we've never ever been turned away by saying that no, we can't do that, we can't make it vegan. With Thai food, it almost never contains dairy, and although there's fish sauce and everything, because usually in Thai restaurants, everything's made kind of fresh. So if you ask them to remove the fish sauce and the egg and just put veggies and tofu in there, because most Thai restaurants have veggies and tofu anyway, it's like super easy. It's like, in my opinion, one of the easiest cuisines to veganize. But on the other hand, the street food sellers who only have one thing and they've already made the broth, which is made from like meat or whatever, that is a difficult thing. But in terms of Thai cuisine in general, I just think it's one of the easiest ones to veganize. I mean,
the tofu is amazing here. They've been doing it for hundreds of years.
Even if they're a not vegetarian place, they're gonna have tofu. Like they have tofu in meat dishes as well. So
right. I guess you're right. I mean, a lot of dishes, the meat or seafood that's in there is just added, and which means you can just leave it out and put in tofu or something else.
But like the fish sauces can be everywhere. But if you're in a Thai restaurant, you can just be like, can you make this vegetarian? Remove the fish sauce.
Yeah, as long as you know those certain phrases, don't add fish sauce, don't add shrimp, or make it J. It's pretty easy to do that.
Yeah.
So shrimps, for example, for somtam, is a great one because
I think it's fish sauce actually.
Is it fish sauce? Yeah. Just don't add it.
Right.
Have
sure,
that.
sure.
I mean,
sometimes
green curry. Just have vegetables and tofu.
Yeah.
Right.
Same with Penang. I mean, it's. There's so many dishes.
The more traditional desserts are like, so many of them are accidentally vegan, and that's something we post about as well, like all the accidentally vegan stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because obviously it's using local ingredients, which is really sustainable, and they're really easily accessible, and they're cheap on the street. So like the khao lam and the kanam krok and the like all the sweet desserts.
Kanam tom, kanam babin.
Because dairy isn't really like
it's not a big Thai thing.
Yeah, exactly. So they use coconut milk, and although some things do contain egg, there's so many accidentally vegan kind of snacks and Thai food. So that's something we'd like to promote as well.
80 to 90% of Thai adults are lactose intolerant. So for us to promote that and show that there are already accessible desserts and foods that you can get from all over Thailand that are cheap, then that's great, because then you don't have to eat dairy anyway.
Okay, now listeners, I want to clarify. I'm going to give a bunch of links to Root the Future stuff, but a lot of their posts or your posts are about restaurants opening or specific dishes or new products coming onto the market. Is there any kind of balance, or in terms of like, what's the priority for the organization? I know you like to do events. Is that the main thing you want to do, or what would you say is your main goal?
It's difficult to say because...
we want to increase accessibility. So we will do things that have the most impact, that attract the most people. And if we can make plant-based food more accessible, then that's a win for us. Because then if you're walking down the road and you see something vegan, you can grab that. It's not something difficult to get anymore.
And that's why we do such a wide selection of campaigns and events. Like I said, when we first started, the goal was just online content. And then one of our friends was hosting an adoptable cat cafe in Ekamai. And I was like, oh, this would be a great opportunity to like collaborate, and we can just do a little vegan market. And with the reason we did that is because that's something that we wanted to see. That's something that we feel like we would love to go to. So we did that. And it was so busy. We were like, wow, people are really kind of interested in events like this, which is how we started doing events and the festival and everything. And then we also do like plant-based food awards purely because we feel like that's something that we would want to see. And like the VGI campaigns, like, so I don't feel like we have a main focus. Like obviously the festival that we do is like a big project. But at the same time, some of the social media content is also like can reach like just as many people.
Yeah, social media content's good because people can share it around, so it reaches
and it stays online forever. So
you can just search
for a pool of stuff, right?
Yeah, that's why we have the website as well. So I mean, it's good for SEO. You type in a search for vegan cheese, and then we have a list, for example. But
or even like the partnerships with like we did with M Courtier to do like a movie screening. Again, there were like so many people there. Like it just so every time we do something, we're like, oh wow, people really want to do that. Like people would really enjoy doing the Plant-Based Food Awards campaign.
I think that's where we're heading towards as an organization, is community galvanizing campaigns and projects to just involve as many people as we can.
And that's like anything.
That's
like
fun.
Absolutely anything. Like the marathon that we did, like just to something extreme that will catch people's attention, that will work to
extreme. Joe ran 50 kilometers in one.
It was pretty stupid.
In like 5 hours.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was insane. Started at like 4 a.m. right?
I thought vegans were supposed to be weak.
I know. I'm going to be dying of protein deficiency very soon.
That's great. So I wanted to ask you about a couple brands. So Greg and I have been fanboying over Oatly.
Oh yeah.
Which, am I right to say it's relatively new? Because I think I saw it for the first time a few months ago.
Oh really?
In Thailand.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just where I was shopping.
It's definitely new for Thailand. Like Oatly's been around in the UK and the US for a while. But yeah, Thailand, I think that they only launched a couple of months ago. Like, and before that they had like a few people who were like bringing it in, but they really only launched a few months ago here.
Oatly, meh.
Well, you're not that into it.
It's okay.
I think that their barista Oatly is like...
It's thicker.
It's thicker. It's thicker. That's right. It's thicker.
They specifically make it so it's like really easy to foam and stuff. So the Oatly, people love the Oatly and their branding's really cool. So it's really fun to get on board with the brand. And Oatside as well is one that's just launched here.
Korean brand.
Is it? I think it's Singaporean brand. Yeah. Anyway, they just launched here and they're just like in every single cafe. So they've really,
And it shows as well because you walk around and you're like, we'll walk into a random coffee shop and say, do you have any plant milk options? And they'll say, we've got Oatside.
Or like the Oatside is like on a pedestal, like right at the front.
They are taken over. It shows that there's room for these plant-based products.
That's great. So I want to talk a little bit about markets you guys promote. I was lucky a few months back to be up in Chiang Mai when you hosted a vegan market up there. So why don't you just explain what a vegan market is and how you guys set it up?
So basically it's it's not just vegan food, it's a sustainability and plant-based market is kind of the long-winded version. And we promote, sustainable food and we bring in all the vegan food vendors and also, like Fashion Revolution do clothes swaps. And we bring in like zero waste vendors and everything like that. So it's like 70-80% vegan food and then, 30% kind of zero waste sustainable vendors. And we also try and make these markets not just like a food market. We try and bring in musicians. We try and do workshops, panel discussions, specifically for the ones in Bangkok. We do like panel discussions, workshops, music, kind of demonstrations, basically like a music festival for vegan food.
Whenever we pitch it to the venue that we want to do it in, they always think farmers market.
Yeah, which is like the opposite of what we want to do.
The total opposite. They think, hay bale. Hay bales.
Whenever we get, people like saying, this is the concept that we think will work, like the hay bales and the posters will have carrots on and we're like, hold on, just leave it. And then, we want to promote like burgers and like food innovation. Basically, we want it to be like a normal like food event,
it's accessible.
But just so happens that everything's vegan. And that's the way that people may end up changing their diets because people don't want to like switch from their like burgers to salads. People want to switch from burgers to burgers.
Your routine is the hardest thing to change.
For sure.
The hardest. And if we can show that there are these swaps, the easy swaps that you can do, grab plant-based bacon instead of bacon, grab a plant-based patty instead of a patty, go for like a plant-based cookie or cakes or whatever for dessert.
And I think that our first event that we did in October, it wasn't our first event, our first big event that we did in October 2020. So we'd been running about 6 months. But then we really saw, like almost all the vendors sold out on the first day, and then they had to go and like overnight make everything all over
within
again.
like 4 hours.
And it was like totally packed, even though the BTS was closed on those days. It was raining on those days. The roads were closed because of protests.
Well, the event up in Chiang Mai I thought was great. We did have some bad luck because of rain.
The rain,
bad luck. It was the heaviest rain I think I've ever seen.
Events it was in rainy season.
Yeah, but before the rain, it was pretty crowded, and the food was great. Like you said, I tell my friends this all the time that vegan food is just getting better and better and better. The old plant-based burgers actually weren't bad, but they weren't trying to mimic beef. Black bean burgers were fine; they were great. But then I think in the early days, the ones that were trying to mimic meat were just not very good.
Oh no,
and cardboard.
Horrible.
But then it's not like that anymore.
Like
they're getting better and better and better. So this is like among my friends. I'm not a huge advocate. I don't want to be the pushy vegan. but when I do get my friends to like, hey, try this, or let's check out Vistro or something. Almost, I would say it's basically universal that my friends say like, wow, this is better than I thought.
That's
and people, the universal.
People don't expect it to look or taste like what people would call normal food. So they're really shocked. They're like, oh, I can eat all the same stuff I'm eating now. It's just a vegan version and it actually tastes good, maybe even better.
There's a lot of innovation now as well because there's a lot more money going into it.
You've
got these massive companies like Tyson and
Thai Union, vegan fish,
these huge companies that just they know what the animal-based food tastes like.
Sure,
they have the money for the R&D, so they know how to replicate it perfectly. So having that money pushing it going into the industry is great because it ups it ups the standard.
But yeah, like you said, like everyone who kind of tries that kind of food are almost always like, wow, this is amazing.
It's better than I thought.
Which is why sometimes the events are so like they feel so impactful when we're there doing them, because there's loads of these people who maybe not even like come across vegan food like in that way before. They can stumble upon these events and then they don't really realize until like halfway into their time there that everything's vegan.
Right. Wait, I've just been eating vegetables.
They're like, oh god damn it. But no, like it's a really good way to open that kind of like sustainable plant-based food to people who maybe not would have tried it before.
Yeah, it's good to approach the topic.
So yeah, the events are like super intense and difficult to do, and then before them we're always like, why are we doing this? And then on the weekend we're like, this is why, this is awesome. Look at all these people that are into this. Like everyone's so passionate about this. Look at these people trying vegan food for the first time. So those are the difficult but very rewarding events.
And there is a noticeable change after the events and festivals where restaurants tell us we're busier, products sell more. So for us showing them and giving them a platform to actually grow is great, and hopefully grow enough to potentially even lobby.
Anyway, I'm really glad we had a chance to have this conversation. It was a long time in coming. So thank you for being on the Bangkok podcast.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, this is a very dynamic community. So hopefully you can come back in the future.
Yeah, that would be great. Amazing. Yeah, really appreciate what you're doing as well. I think it's good to grow the expat community.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. Take care, guys.
Cool, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was really cool, man. I got to say, I was a little bit skeptical when they came on the show, because I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not a vegan. I eat a lot of meat, but I do love vegetarian food. But I was happy to see that they are more than just like sort of like this people who are promoting vegan diets, but they sort of expand it. They take it and explode it out into the whole like sustainable environmental push too, because as someone who grew up in Alberta, which is like, beef, it's like Texas of Canada, right? It's beef country,
for sure.
Beef central. Man, like I've seen how much resources and water and land that raising cows can take and need.
Sure.
So it's interesting to see what they're doing. And they're doing this, on one hand, they're doing like this little like, hey, we're vegan things, but it's much more than that. And it's they're educating people about the importance of that.
No doubt. Yeah, absolutely. They are, I would say they are environmentalists. They are kind of climate change activists. But I think a lot of their social media stuff does focus on veganism or plant-based dieting, because I think that's the easiest or most accessible thing people can do. So in the interview, I can't remember if we might have talked about this off mic, but Max was just saying that, just eating an apple, people don't realize that's activism. Like actually when you eat an apple, you're doing something good for the environment. You don't have to go out and protest against big beef or something like that. Just, so I think this is why diet is something that comes up a lot in their posts, and why they promote a lot of plant-based products, is because that's just an easy, just changing what you eat for lunch is a form of environmental activism.
It's an interesting way to look at it. And also when you're eating an apple, you are keeping the doctors away. So
I've heard that.
Win-win.
I've heard that. I got to say this. I've as I mentioned in the interview, they started posting, I think about 2.5 years ago. And so I've always been a fan of their stuff because it's just colorful. They seem to be just really good at social media. They're just fun people. Joe is just great on camera, and the bottom line is, in person, they're even more fun. And I was even a little bit worried because, I eat vegetarian, not vegan. And I knew they kind of promoted like a kind of a more strict like vegan diet. And, I was a little bit worried, like interacting with them. And they're just like the nicest, sweetest people. And they're not judgmental at all. Like we talked a little bit in the interview. And I'm not sure, because I had to edit the interview down because we talked for more than an hour. But they're really into promoting like flexitarianism, which is like a fancy word for, just trying to convince meat eaters to, have a meatless Monday. So they're not really promoting, or they're not really expecting people to just go vegan or go plant-based. That's not the way they are. They're very much just like showing people, hey, there's this tasty vegan thing. Like why not have one meal a week, that's plant-based. So they're super reasonable.
Yeah, that is reasonable. Even for someone like me, like I'm guilty of it too. I'm skeptical and I joke about it, like, oh, vegans are weak and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of an asinine stereotype, and it's not true, obviously. But but it's not true, because I love vegan food. It's really, really good, and I've cut down on how much meat I eat over the past years, and I don't miss it.
Well, I just thought their story was worth telling because they are interesting expats. Like, obviously, the purpose of the Bangkok podcast is not to promote like plant-based dieting. That's not our purpose. But our purpose is to explore expat lives in Thailand. And they've been in Thailand for 6 years, and I just think it's kind of cool that they picked up something they care about. So this is something that they're personally passionate about, that they have made kind of a career out of. And obviously, they're working with Thai people. They're working with Thai customers, and I just think that's kind of a cool thing for expats to do. Like, it's not the normal. You and I know the things that expats usually do. Number one, teach English. Number two, work for an expat company, or there's just various things. And doing this kind of activism in English, and having such a big presence on social media, I just think it's a cool route. It's a cool path that they took as expats.
Yeah, it is cool. It could be anything. Hey, we came to Thailand, we opened up a pen factory or whatever it is. Like, if that's your passion,
that's right,
and you can build a business around it, that's cool. I'm also really interested to see over the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever, how Thai food culture adapts to sort of like, I don't know if it's Western driven vegan lifestyles or whatever, but a lot of times when someone like, my friends who are very allergic to certain things, they'll say no sunflower seeds, and the guy will say like, oh, there's probably no sunflower seeds in there. Like, that's not good enough. Right. And I know like a lot of people say no meat or something like that, and they're like, oh, well, chicken's not really meat, or I used this pan for meat earlier, so that's not a big deal. Right. But it is a big deal for some people. So
for some
it's
people,
interesting to see how that evolves.
Yeah, as we talked about in the podcast, it's interesting that Thai culture already has J food. So that, as we said in the interview, that's an advantage in one way, because it's not something that's totally foreign to them. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a disadvantage, because like J food I think it has a reputation of being kind of boring and kind of bland. Even you have joked about it, but even Thai people often like, Joe was joking that it's like, it's just fried mushrooms, and it's like, it's just,
dude, they're talking about my petition to rename the vegetarian festival the Deep Fried Starch Festival. That's all
right.
It is.
That's right. Yeah. So even though there is already a place for actually vegan food in Thai culture, but they want to update that. Like, so they're trying to make J food cool and interesting, because the bottom line is it is. I mean, vegan food today is not the vegan food that your mom and dad ate or had access to or didn't eat. You know what I mean? Like, it's different. Right.
It's not the food your parents rejected.
That's exactly right. This is not. I mean, big companies now see that they can make money with plant-based products, so they're just putting millions of dollars into the food science, which has never occurred before. There's never been millions of dollars put into plant-based alternatives. So the bottom line is they're just getting better. Like, it's just not as bad as it used to be, and so that's a big part of what they do, But again, it's not all about plant-based stuff. A lot of it is just an environmentally like conscious, like sustainable lifestyle, and they really do it in a kind of cool educational way. So we'll put some links down below. But all I can say is I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks, Max and Joanna, for coming on the show. That was really cool. And I will follow you on Instagram and follow your adventures.
Yeah, they'll be our official plant-based correspondents.
Sure. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss, decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have to come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with, no matter how we feel about it. Now, last time we did Would You Rather, where Ed asked me if I prefer the Thai or Western healthcare systems. So this week, I'm going to do a love, loathe, or live with.
All right, hit me.
All right, Ed, speaking of vegetarian food, I got something for you.
Okay.
What is your take? It's very simple. What is your take on salted eggs?
Yeah, not a fan. It's funny because back in the day, So I actually technically eat eggs now, but I try to avoid them. So I'm not even though I'm vegetarian, I don't eat a lot of eggs or cheese. But back in the day, when I was like just an enthusiastic meat eater, I used to love hard-boiled eggs with just salt, right?
Oh, but yeah, I do that.
Yeah, just the basic thing. But there's some reason, just the way they're cooked in Asia or Thailand, I don't know. Like I don't know what it is, what's going on, or what's different. Because you'd think it was like basically the same thing. But like if I think I know what you're talking about, like this Thai egg dish that is that is salted. I don't know. There's something about the way it's prepared. It's not the same. It's just like a regular hard-boiled egg. You with me?
I mean for when you put a little bit of, like when you touch an egg to salt, it's just got some salt on the outside. But for some, like the way they do them in Thailand, it's like they're saturated with salt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's just not the same dish. So even when I was eating meat here in Thailand, I was never into that. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say I'm a live with, because I do like them in som tam kai kem, which is the salted egg som tam. But other than that, no, not a fan.
Yeah, I got to go low. For some reason, I just never liked it. A lot of the general, like I said, tom kha, tom yum, even som tam, if it's not too hot, I like. I mean, now I don't, I try to avoid fish. I try to avoid fish sauce, but so a lot of the main dishes I like, but then there's a lot of very specific Thai things that Thai people love that I just try it and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what is that?
I'm out.
I'm out. That's exactly right. So on the Thai version of salted eggs, I'm out.
All right.
All right. A final thanks to our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more about clicking support on our website and connect with us online. We are Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Yeah, baby. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube, send us a voicemail through our website that will feature on the show, or even reach out to me directly on Twitter for now, where I am BKK Gray. So thanks for listening, everyone. Take care out there, and we'll see you back here next week.
For sure.
Let no one say the Bangkok Podcast doesn't go to extreme lengths to bring you the show. Editing this from a very rainy day on Koh Samet, from a very uncomfortable chair in my very small hotel room. But at least I am drinking plain water, so I got that going for me.